Hello, fellow patriots. I am currently in the Republic of the Restored via the GCR update for Thursday, September 1, 2023, compiled by Judy Byington. Maui Massacre, an emergency plea for help. The capital of the sovereign nation of Hawaii in Lahaina, Maui, has been devastated. Hundreds of men, women, and children are believed to have perished. Children are still missing. The people have been displaced without homes. Any assistance to aid the people of Hawaii who are suffering significant losses will be greatly appreciated. Please be cautious where you donate. The Malama Lahaina website of the Kingdom of Akua Foundation is the official and only authorized website dedicated solely and operated by Native Hawaiians. Contribute and make a difference. Step out in faith, especially with SISL. Judy notes what we believe we know since Wednesday, August 30, 2023. Judy Byington, an emergency, 15 states lined up for attacks accordingly. Similar events have also occurred in Hawaii. Special intel for Wednesday, August 16. The dead zone and the massacred city, Maui Massacre, we are devastated. Shock, pain, and suffering in Lahaina. It's shared throughout the Hawaiian Islands. We have a long road to recovery. We appreciate all of you for your prayers, love, and support. We are focusing on the surviving victims, helping them return to their normal lives. Personally, I was attacked via my phone and my bank account was hacked, but life goes on. Mr. Don Kalia, in the 22 days since the fire started from what is believed to be direct energy weapons in the Lahaina Maui massacre on August 8, 2023. On social media, there have been speculations in the community questioning not only what happened to the students but also what happened to the school buses that picked them up. No school buses have been found, even in the burnout wreckage found on the highways and Front Street. The Democratic Party of Hawaii Governor Josh Green, Mayor of Maui Richard Bison, and Lahaina Police Chief John Pelletier, who strangely stands behind his investigators and is also involved in the Las Vegas shootings, have repeatedly refused to speak about the missing children. They are believed to have been home alone when the fires started. All three of these agencies are believed to be loyal to the deep state, and a well-planned effort is underway to take over valuable native Hawaiian land for their smart city model, designed to gain total control of the population. When the large fires raged hot enough to melt tires, Maui police were ordered to assist FEMA personnel in blocking the escape from Lahaina, the historic capital of the Kingdom of Hawaii. Those who escaped the blockade reported that FEMA authorities had issued quarantine orders. 2 days before what was called the forest fire even began, resulting in traffic jams that imprisoned hundreds of native Hawaiians who perished in their cars as the fires raged around them. On Sunday, August 6, 2 days before the attacks, 2,500 FEMA personnel began arriving in Honolulu. It was no random coincidence. They all then flew to Maui and placed themselves in a $1,000 per night luxury hotel. 2 days later, as Lahaina was consumed by flames, most all were 100 miles back in Honolulu, suggesting Diabolegal's agency knew that part of Maui would be set on fire. Also, in the 2 days leading up to the fires, Herman and Dia, the top emergency managers of Maui, and Eric Leckie, the associate administrator for FEMA's mission support, met in Lahaina according to video owned by the White Hat Military Alliance sent to the U.S. Army Special Forces to control the situation. The video also shows Dia giving Leckie a tour of Lahaina and advising him on where to set up barriers to keep citizens trapped in what would become a disaster area. On Wednesday, August 16, 1 week after the Maui massacre, the U.S. Army arrived in Lahaina, where Maui police officers in a National Guard unit contaminated by CIA agents were assisting FEMA personnel in blocking both road and sea lanes of food, water, and essential supplies from arriving in Lahaina. Denying food and water to desperate survivors had ensured a critical food shortage. And 2 days before the fires began had ensured a communications blackout within a 12-mile radius of Lahaina, with no mobile phones or internet coverage. The U.S. Army found on Front Street in Lahaina a police uniformed officer shooting a pedestrian in the back for no apparent reason. Police then discovered an onlooker filming the incident on a mobile phone and shot him too. He was the 5th policeman shot by Marine infantry since arriving on Maui late Wednesday afternoon. The U.S. Army also found bullet-ridden corpses floating face down in the ocean, and the Hawaii National Guard rifled through the bags of islanders and tourists who had died. Wow, FEMA and the Red Cross not only refused to provide food and essential supplies but also prohibited citizens from accessing food, water, and shelter nearby. Now, over 3 weeks later, Lahaina's educational district reports that 2,940 children are still unaccounted for. There is no news of more than 2,000 missing children sneaking through a lost communication area where undercover cops' foreign vehicles blocked people's access to the dead field. Governor Green, Maui Mayor Bison, and Police Chief Pelletier have all refused to address the missing children while mainstream media continuously refuses to report on the story. The Lahaina land is considered the second most valuable real estate in the world, and for many years, the elite have been buying it up. Most native Hawaiians refuse to sell this piece of their heritage, but the elite persist. That's where they plan to build a smart city, where they can control the population entirely. The attacks are believed to have been developed and triggered by individuals within the deep state government. To eliminate witnesses set up to expose an international child sex trafficking, adrenochrome, an Oregon harvesting ring concentrated in Lahaina. To test large-scale smart car bombings, to destroy Lahaina in a racial cleansing to obtain valuable native Hawaiian land through carefully calculated land grabs. To hide deep state operatives seeking a refuge who have invested heavily in buying land in Maui, where native Hawaiians now refuse to sell. Back in 1959, Hawaii's independence was erased by pineapple companies wanting them to become a U.S. Inc. For tax purposes, U.S. Inc. has now officially bankrupted and wants Hawaii to remain a state and therefore keep anything they can extort. Command Thor Intel, this is day 831-23. This is the first part and is a note from Commander Thor. VT wants to set the record straight about the truth of what happened, as misinformation and mission updates are incorrect regarding the reason for the Maui attack. Besides, other truthers are taking his intel and claiming it as their own after he posts it, not giving him credit. So, here's the intel on Maui. Oprah Zuckerberg and other elite homes were not burned down so they can continue to buy land for the DSSTQ and then sell it back to the DSSTQ for only half the price. If the elite's homes were also destroyed, the elite would not buy land for the DSSTQ anymore. The DSSTQ wants to take over the island. Commander Thor Intel Part 2. Commander Thor previously posted a comment 2 days after the Maui microwave attack that it was from the DSSTQ to retaliate against the alliance sending a storm into China to destroy Three Gorges Dam that we would then be blamed for. The attacks on Maui were a warning to the alliance to stop with the geoengineered storm. Do not mistake this as alliance intel. This was not alliance intel. Commander Thor Intel Part 3. The same three that claimed his Maui intel stated that they are alliance intel, followed by this quote. I am more impressed by what people do together than what the alliance may or may not do. All I see is people having enough and coming together to stop evil. The alliance is a part of that, not the other way around. Please make it clear that Thor's intel was not alliance intel. He is only an alliance supporter and does not speak for the alliance. Back to Judy. Judy's sources have been confirmed as accurate to the best of her abilities. The same cannot be said for any other group. We are supporting her as much as we can. As we have said, it is everyone's responsibility to have water, food, and other essentials stored in your own home. When you are informed of what is coming, you should already have a good supply of goods. Don't come running to us for help when you refuse to follow our advice. Semper Fi, Don. Someone sent a video with a huge airport hangar full of hundreds of caskets with some black wooden caskets and some aluminum. One section was for adults and another was for children. What could be the purpose? Mahalo, Don, for all your work. This is not our video, but we do have our own. We believe these caskets are for pedophiles, cabal members, and other criminals against humanity who have been executed, as well as those killed as a result of massive disasters caused by the deep state. There are a lot of caskets. One would be all we need if they were the same length. These caskets are not uniform in length or in any other way. I wouldn't be too concerned about it, other than the fact that there are people that are no longer on this planet. Speaking in foreign language, through the years, I've heard different things, such as the cabal has their own counterfeit money machine and actually have the power to go in and pick up any amount of money at any time, thus making them very powerful. My question is, do they have this power, and if so, how can it be stopped? Thank you and God bless you and your team for all your hard work. They have had the power in the past to counterfeit money. That was one of their main methods of stealing your money. As we speak, the alliance is taking control of the banks. This will eliminate the counterfeit money. The Federal Reserve is not a bank, but rather a counterfeiting operation. The alliance is already replacing it with the gold-backed treasury, and this process will be completed soon. Thank you for your support. Speaking in foreign language, these documents were posted with permission. If you repost this article, credit must be given to the author, not taking credit for someone else's work. Speaking in foreign language, Udit note, I do not have the video and did not find one on the YouTube. I have no further information on this subject. The following document is from September 1, 2023, 5 years, 5 months, 3 weeks, and 5 days of revolution in the kingdom of God on earth and 11 days of God's kingdom government. You do not know what will happen tomorrow, for what is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Please listen. You rich people, weep and wail because of the misery that is coming on you. Your wealth has rotted and moths have eaten your clothes. Your gold and silver are corroded. Their corrosion will testify against you and eat your flesh like fire. You have hoarded wealth in the last days. Look, the wages you failed to pay the workers who mowed your fields are crying out against you. The cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord Almighty. You have lived on earth in luxury and self-indulgence. You have fattened yourselves in the day of slaughter. You have condemned and murdered the innocent one who was not opposing you. Be patient then, brothers and sisters, until the Lord's coming. See how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, patiently waiting for the autumn and spring rains. You too, be patient and stand firm, because the Lord's coming is near. Don't grumble against one another, brothers and sisters, or you will be judged. The judge is standing at the door. Brothers and sisters, as an example of patience in the face of suffering, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. As you know, we count as blessed those who have persevered. You have heard of Job's perseverance and have seen what the Lord finally brought about. The Lord is full of compassion and mercy. Above all, my brothers and sisters, do not swear not by heaven or by earth or by anything else. All you need to say is a simple yes or no, otherwise, you will be condemned. UD note. Please note that this document is being posted under the direction of the Earth Alliance and the 11th Fleet, both of which have their hearts and minds set on Jesus Christ and God the Father, the Creator of all, in the kingdom of God on earth. Let us continue our quest to learn about the ways of God the Father and Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen. UD note. Some may believe this document does not belong on this website, but I believe that all things are connected. The cabal has brought this suffering upon humanity because of their love of money. The cabal and Satan. News that you won't hear on the mainstream media. This guy is on the ground, calling us, and it's like you wouldn't believe what he's saying. Just a few hours ago, he was talking absolutely crazy. It was the craziest scene I've ever witnessed. I've been in war zones before, you know, back in the war days, but this island looks worse than anything I've ever seen. He said that people are going insane, the locals are starting a revolution, they're furious. They are so angry, he says, and no one is talking to him, nobody. No one in the mainstream media is allowing us out, so just know that this is the truth. CNN among all of them. Jesus, the US Coast Guard is tracking Russian suspects offshore Hawaii, so I have a lot of friends and people who are not Russian. No, I'm not Russian, I'm from the US, maybe my friends are US citizens, but they have family and friends in Russia. And what they've been told is that Putin sent an urgent medical case type of ship and 2 escort battleships heading towards Hawaii when he saw this massacre. I'll keep calling it happening on the island to help because he says the US president and the elites won't help their own people. I'll do it if necessary for the members of the special forces to show up 2 days ago. In fact, I've been told by our contact over there that they've seen the ships today their way. They came, they went right alongside the ships, the men were all out there, they did whatever they did to let them know that they were there, they were friendly. And you know, you don't know with them, so this is the kind of nonsense that's being suspected of Russians. The reconnaissance ships, no, Putin sent 3 ships off the coast of Hawaii to help them if necessary because he knows that the elites and the Biden administration are basically trying to seize, kill, and exterminate the American people, like how the lockdowns on the interstate highways on both sides of the interstate highways in Vermont and New Hampshire have been going on forever. Come and go if it has anything to do with the floods up here, but I've received reports that this is happening all over the country right now. And so I'm here, I've tried to get on the interstates so clearly there are 2 interstates immediately, there's one state going south. Right now I'm going south because the FEMA camp is on the north side. I'm just trying to get in there, and they won't let me in. They won't let me in, they won't let you get close to them, and if I try to pull over outside or after I've gone through and I get out of the car and like they actually send people out, they'll not like it, they might even detain me. So this is what's happening, this is the truth. CNN, on the other hand, talks about the US Coast Guard monitoring the Russian suspect ships offshore Hawaii, so I have a lot of friends and people. They're not Russian, I'm not Russian, I'm from the US, but maybe my friends are US citizens, but they have family and friends in Russia. And what they've been told is that Putin sent an urgent medical case type of ship and 2 escort battleships heading towards Hawaii when he saw this massacre. I'll continue to call it that happening on the island to help because he says the US president and the elites won't help their own people. I'll do it if necessary for the members of the special forces to show up 2 days ago. In fact, I've been told by our contact over there that they've seen the ships today on their way. They came, they went right alongside the ships, the men were all out there, they did whatever they did to let them know that they were there, they were friendly. And you know, you don't know with them, so this is the kind of nonsense that's being suspected of Russians. Putin did not send those ships. Did not Putin send 3 ships off the coast of Hawaii to help them if necessary because he knows that the elites and the Biden administration are basically trying to seize, kill, and exterminate the American people, like how the lockdowns on the interstate highways on both sides of the interstate highways in Vermont and New Hampshire have been going on forever. Come and go if it has anything to do with the floods up here, but I've received reports that this is happening all over the country right now. And so I'm here. I've tried to get on the interstates, so clearly there are two interstates immediately. There's one state going south. Right now I'm going south because the FEMA camp is on the north side. I'm just trying to get in there, and they won't let me in. They won't let me in, they won't let you get close to them, and if I try to pull over outside or after I've gone through and I get out of the car and they actually send people out, they'll not like it, they might even detain me. So this is what's happening, this is the truth. On Thursday, August 31st, the world's largest Swiss bank, UBS, will be completely absorbed, marking D-Day for the Rothschild takeover. A joint military exercise involving 8,000 soldiers from 34 countries will take place at the Mohammed Nashi military base on Friday, September 1st, announcing the return of gold assets with full quantum financial integration. On Friday, September 8th, President Trump will hold a grand rally with leaders in Rapid City, North Dakota, at Mount Rushmore. On September 11th, Trump's 11th executive order will expire, having been extended twice and cannot be extended further, as per Blash 347. On Friday, September 15, 2023, Executive Order 13,848 will expire after 17 days. This executive order, signed by President Trump, pertains to imposing specific sanctions in case of foreign interference in U.S. elections. A nationwide emergency alert system test has been planned for October 4th, involving the entire United States to ensure everything is functioning correctly in the event of a major national disaster or attack. It's clear that we will not adhere to these meaningless regulations any longer. What's happening here is that if we continue, we will all end up carrying digital IDs. You might think having a digital ID isn't a big deal, but there's something coming, and it's certain. So what I think they'll do is make you have your own digital ID. If you're not wise enough to register it, there will be no cash and no central bank digital currency. The WHO will let you know there's a pandemic. Remember, they are looking for these powers right now. They will say there's a pandemic. That's their job. Companies will be cooking up mRNA instead of proper vaccines, and then the government will tell you that you have to have the jab to keep your digital ID valid. I believe most people will comply and get the jab. I think over the next several years, the orchestrators of this can trim down the population to whatever number they please with reasonable deniability. In actual news for Wednesday, August 30, 2023, the U.S. Embassy in Haiti is urging citizens to leave the country as soon as possible. Dr. Howard Zucker of the CDC has been sentenced to life imprisonment at Gitmo. On August 30th, the U.S. Navy targeted President Biden as NATO leaders declared him the man who saved the world. A new alleged espionage hot air balloon from China was discovered by Montana residents at an altitude of 57,000 feet. Biden's Department of Defense will not release Gavin, a former French colony with vast oil and uranium reserves, as an ideal disaster area for a storm heading towards the Gulf of Florida. There are plans to restore that part of the island to even better than before. Regarding the revelations about the Rockefellers and their influence on the global economy, the EBS, Emergency Broadcast System, will play a crucial role in communicating and exposing deep state agendas. Be prepared for the upcoming events that will unveil the hidden agendas of the state. We are on the brink of a new world order, so don't panic. This is necessary. It has to happen like this for us to transition to a brighter future. It's part of the awakening process, even though it's truly heartbreaking, but it's necessary to wake up the masses. This will ensure that people are safely in their homes and able to witness the historic moment when all truths, cover-ups, and more are revealed through the EBS. It's imminent. The schedule is now final, but only a select few know the exact and precise timing of the events. It must be kept secret for security and other obvious reasons. Again, the EBS will broadcast an 8-hour video. It will be rebroadcast 3 times a day for 10 days during the dark communication period. During the 10-day communication blackout, the following will happen. We will receive 7 horns, also known as EBS text messages on our phones, alerting us to adjust our TVs at that time. Our phones will only work from 9/11, and we will be informed about the Signal app, which is military-grade encryption. Please stay tuned for further instructions, and make sure to prepare accordingly for these upcoming events. Our television network will only broadcast 3 films repeatedly in a continuous loop for 10 days. We will cover various topics including arrests, court cases, fraud, corruption, child abuse, and more. During this time, our internet service will be offline, and our ATMs will not be operational. After spending 10 days in this communication blackout, we will connect to a new quantum internet. Everyone is encouraged to have a minimum of 3 weeks' worth of food and drinking water in reserve. We have been promised a new Starlink internet system by the end of this month. As we speak, a young teenager is coordinating this significant historical event's progress, improving the Emergency Broadcast System, EBS, to ensure maximum security for all involved. So please be patient as everything is being finalized. They want to make sure that there is no interference in any form. The planners of this event do not want anyone to panic because it is simply an announcement of the truth. After the EBS and the 10 days of mainstream media blackout, and after watching all the 24/7 8-hour-long films, will everything return to normal? The answer is that everything will change after the EBS and the 8-hour-long films 24/7. Life-supporting systems attached to the old systems and wrongdoing will be dismantled. Humanity and the Earth will transition to a quantum consciousness reality system. Peace and prosperity. An end to the enslavement of financial and human consciousness. The old systems of government, education, finance, healthcare, commerce, and trade, etc., will all be dismantled and replaced. We will have a new currency called the US note, backed by gold. Now is the time to warn as many people as possible. Don't be too proud. Warn your loved ones, even if they think you're crazy. Your goal for others is to help them absorb the shock of what's coming. Keep strong and stockpile food supplies for the events unfolding. We are in the midst of a storm. Major events are happening. Everything leads to military and crimes against humanity. On the other hand, we are heading towards some earth-changing events, including a world war as a mishap in military communication between the West and its adversaries. China has refused any Washington dialogue on defense-related topics, according to U.S. officials. This is also true for Russia, so the situation is as such, potentially dangerous, officials warn. Russia has gained leverage by asking its ally Nicaragua to expel the Order of the Name monks and confiscate their property. Then, Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega allowed Russian military bases and the deployment of ballistic missiles in the country. To get Russia's attention, it appears MI6 assassinated Guinea Prigison's Wagner bossy. Christopher Steele, the former British intelligence officer famous for the anti-Trump dossier, claimed that his plane was blown up by a bomb inside a wine crate. Specifically, a wine crate. Making it seem like Steele was boasting about the assassination. Steele's dossier was designed to assist Hillary Clinton and her campaign against then-President Donald Trump. You can guess the ultimate hand behind this murder. Our MI6 sources suggest their agency has to take responsibility and tell the Russians as much in an effort to restart negotiations over Ukraine, etc. Using the assassination as a way to open a back channel has failed. Both Russia's FSB and MI6 have said so. Instead, Russia is opening criminal investigations into the Prigozhin killing. The U.S. military's proposal for talks with Russia and Malta in August has also been rejected by Russia. And 6 of my sources say another rejection by the West happened last week when China vetoed the participation of French President Emmanuel Macron in the BRICS summit in South Africa, according to CIA sources. Russian and Asian intelligence sources explain that the Western KM leadership is breaking so many agreements and promises that negotiations with them are futile. However, Western white hats have convinced the Russians that KM is also very strong in their Russia and is pushing for full-scale nuclear war. In particular, Russian Security Council Deputy Chief Dmitry Medvedev is a KM agent pushing for World War II and must be neutralized. The pictures of him standing in front of Putin while making the satanic devil's horn sign have been erased from the internet but not from our memories. To prevent the plan for nuclear Armageddon, the White Hats are working with Russian counterparts to overthrow KM and their Federal Reserve Board's world holdings. There are many signs that this is happening. The most glaring sign is the extreme isolation the current Western leaders are experiencing. Right now, they are being outnumbered 10-1 on the global stage by 195 countries. Evidence of this is the fact that only 13 countries participated in the A.G.7 statement on ensuring Ukraine's long-term security, according to Ukrainian President Andrei Yermak. Those are Belgium, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Finland, Greece, Iceland, Ireland, Latvia, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, Romania, Spain, and Sweden. Only one of those countries, Romania, shares a border with Ukraine. Interestingly, Poland was not included. Ukraine's flag disappeared from the Polish media agency's logo, parliament, and central bank. All of them displayed it until recently, according to Polish intelligence. Poland says they have plans to divide Ukraine with Russia. Meanwhile, European Union sanctions against Russia have become a joke on the international stage, Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó said, warning that Europe is self-destructing under the guise of supporting Ukraine. In contrast, the BRICS summit held in South Africa last week added Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE as full members. They will hold their first meeting on January 1, 2024. We are living in a post-US, post-Western world. A truly multipolar group where the BRICS nations, larger than the G7, acknowledges the West, polite, Jeffrey Sachs. With the addition of major oil-exporting countries, the BRICS 11, as it is now tentatively called, controls about 80% of the world's oil market. This gives them the ability to replace the petrodollar with their own currency. However, the BRICS meeting also reveals an interesting power imbalance between China and the other BRICS nations. Chinese leader Xi Jinping is secretly pushing for Chinese dominance, while the rest of the BRICS want a multipolar world, according to CIA sources. China has also openly and consistently pushed all UN member states to privatize and adopt the 2030 Agenda. However, the other BRICS countries want to reform the World Trade Organization, BIS, World Bank, IMF, and the UN, etc., and particularly, they want greater representation in the United Nations Security Council, where China is the sole permanent representative outside of Europe. According to Russia and others, the fact that the BRICS did not announce a gold-backed currency was highly anticipated and reflects the secret split with China. This is especially true for India and Russia, countries that have strongly pushed for the deification of gold. The reason China vetoed this is because they have a secret deal with the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve about the US dollar. The Chinese Communist Party has been offered control of the US dollar and even the United States by the owners of the FRB, according to MI6 and Japanese royal sources. According to them, the US dollar has been a BRICS currency supported by assets mainly controlled by China and to a lesser extent by Taiwan and Japan. The Nationalist Party has proposed that China control the US dollar and the world in exchange for protection. Various bribes that Joe Biden received from China were to make the Chinese feel like they could even be the president of the United States. Sources from secret Asian meetings revealed, Ukraine prosecutor Viktor Shokin was fired and confirmed that Joe and Hunter Biden received bribes and were behind his removal. "Isn't that corruption alone?" he said in a preview of a Blockbuster interview. By the way, in much more evidence, the entire Ukraine war is a big bribery and money laundering scheme. The wife of Ukraine's dictator Vladimir Zelensky spent $4.8 billion on a mansion next to Angelina Jolie El Gona's mansion in Egypt. Evidence of Biden and others receiving bribes from China and sponsoring biological terrorism research in China is also overwhelming. They couldn't do that without China's high-level complicity. In another sign of complicity, Xi Jinping has accepted the Global Economic Forum's totalitarian goals through the combination of a fake pandemic, social credit score, and central bank digital currency. You can't even buy food in China without a digital ID. This will 100% be transferred to the EU and the US. In fact, the US has provided China with the technology to do so. China was chosen as the testing ground. The sign of the beast is not a physical object, it's a system. A source from the saddest scene warns, this has made Xi an enemy in China and elsewhere, sources from secret Asian societies said. In a sign of this, Xi Jinping cancelled his speech at the BRICS summit at the last minute and instead, China's Minister of Commerce Wang Wentao read it. Chinese intelligence sources explained that they had received reliable reports that she would be killed by electromagnetic weapons if he appeared to deliver the speech as planned. Another sign of the conspiracy is the detention of Xi Jinping's bodyguards in South Africa as she entered a public space. The fact is that Japan is pouring radioactive water from Fukushima into the ocean, and Xi Jinping's angry reaction is also a genuine counter-KM move. The water being poured is not actually radioactive, according to Japanese military intelligence. By removing it, the Japanese are cutting off billions of dollars in payments to the KM. This is part of a campaign by Japan, Taiwan, and South Korea to drive the KM out of East Asia. Japanese sources say, at a deeper level, the threats against Xi Jinping and the assassination of Wagner's leader are just a few of the many signs of KM's desperation. Their biggest source of desperation is still the ongoing collapse of the United States. This is now widely understood. For example, General Douglas MacGregor discussed this with Tucker Carlson. Both are relatively new to the anti-KM movement, although they never explicitly mention KM, but they, along with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and others have begun pointing fingers at the political bosses who run the United States. RFK Jr. blows the whistle on BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street owning each other, as we know they bid individuals for homes all over America. All you have to do is find out who owns them, and you will find the Rockefellers and other KM political bosses. We are on the verge of a nation coming to Jesus moment. We want to talk about what our government is doing, and we really don't have one. We will be pushed to the edge and over the precipice, MacGregor warns. The general, who could become a strong leader like Putin for a restored Republic of the United States, summarizes some of the current issues facing Americans. The Ukraine war has every adult American working bearing a debt of about $240,000, in addition to the $600,000 debt each man, woman, and child in the U.S. already owes. The average American earns $31,000 a year and spends about $16,609 a year in taxes. The average American who works a lifetime will receive $1,400 a month in Social Security if they are lucky. Illegal immigrants coming here receive $2,200 a month. As we have reported in previous reports, the mortgage payments for the average American home are higher than the entire wage of the average American. These financial injustices are causing a breakdown of social order in the U.S. Here are some recent examples. Macy's grocery stores reported a loss of $84 million in the second quarter due to credit card debt. Crowds continue to attack and rob upscale retailers across the country. The rich are dressing down and leaving their watches at home as they increasingly become targets of poorer Americans. For example, in the past year, $1.4 billion worth of luxury watches have been stolen. The anger is understandable since 1 in 3 private rental tenants have had to borrow money in the past month to pay rent in a country where CEOs earn 400 times what full-time workers make. Even stores serving average workers and lower-income people are under attack. In recent examples, Dick's Sporting Goods and Dollar Tree have both reported a significant increase in theft. The so-called Biden administration has tried to appease the public by the largest increase in food stamp benefits in history. However, the result of this money printing for the poor is a 15% skyrocketing in grocery store prices. They have also raised gasoline and other energy prices. The result is that right now, truck drivers are taking 15 to 25% lower freight rates than their costs. This cannot last forever, warns John Stenderup, Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Vector Logistics. These problems are spreading to the point where the entire financial system is about to collapse. As Goldbug King World News explains, the banking system is not ready to deal with this. Effective March 15, 2020, the Federal Reserve reduced reserve requirements for depository institutions, banks, to zero. There's a zero reserve requirement that allowed broad money supply to increase. The collapse of the financial system coincides with the collapse of support from public institutions. The U.S. Supreme Court, 27% of banks, 26% of public schools, 26% of presidents, 26% of large technology companies, 26% of organized labor, 25% of the press, 18% of the criminal justice system, 17% of television news, 14% of big business, 14% of Congress, 8% of KM. Awareness of this impending collapse. In a sign that this could happen soon after the end of the U.S. corporate financial year on September 30, FEMA, in coordination with the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, will conduct a nationwide test this fall of the Emergency Alert System. EAS and Wireless Emergency Alerts, WE. Messages will be sent to all TV, radio, and mobile phones. There are also signs that KM is preparing to restart the pandemic and vaccine blockade campaign this fall. The corresponding corona variants have been supplied. Yes, Canada burns more, continuously reporting, but the US, Europe, Africa, and Asia have burned in total. The world is on fire, and these fires are often an excuse to take money. For example, FEMA officials are staying at luxury hotels costing $1,000 a night in Maui in the midst of recovery efforts, while the government is providing Hawaii residents living in burned-out homes $700 once payment. There is evidence that the fires in Canada are also part of some kind of property grab by the KM. Note that the city of Lytton, where the fires started, was completely destroyed. The 2011 Canadian census lists its population as 249. However, the town council reported in 2019 that its population had fallen to 182. The residents of Lytton also reported that they heard explosions in the days before the fires. The city of Lytton is now owned by the government of British Columbia, but the question is, will the fires increase the value of that property? This all has been done in full view, which makes one wonder if what's happening is a bit of a double game. This may explain why Canada's Deputy Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeland, is now hiding in Zurich, Switzerland. Switzerland has a notorious history as a refuge for fugitive Nazis and war criminals. Is that the kind of company Chrystia is keeping? I'm probably not going to have a Twitter or Telegram account in the coming weeks, or possibly forever, because of the situation in Canada and the United States. Since both nations are toast, I'm going to be moving to a new one. My way of working and reporting will not change. Thank you for your support. Finally, I would like to end this report on a positive note by celebrating the memory of an amazing man, former South African President F.W. de Klerk, who passed away at the age of 85. De Klerk was a key figure in ending apartheid in South Africa and helped Nelson Mandela negotiate the transition to majority rule. He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993, along with Mandela, for their efforts to peacefully end apartheid. De Klerk's leadership and commitment to change have left a lasting legacy of peace and reconciliation in South Africa. His death is a reminder of the importance of working towards justice, equality, and unity, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. May he rest in peace.